evening, or morning, ladies and gentlemen. But not just the ladies and gentlemen. The scoundrels, the barbarians, the savages and savants, even the mouth-breathing, bottom-feeding scum-suckers that welcome the totally awesome podcast to be because they are the fans. I am your Colonial Champion Sean McCarty, mixing it up here on the Totally Awesome Podcast, the podcast so bad it will make you tap out. Here to review AEW Double or Nothing, but I won't be doing it alone, folks, because joining me here today is your fearless leader, and there is no man who better personifies mouth-breathing, bottom-feeding scum-sucker quite like this man. The totalitarian of TAW Gaming and the king of the scum-suckers, JoshAgeddon. Welcome to your own podcast, sir.
Totalitarian asshole wrestling. That's what I should rename the show to.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Welcome
now
everyone.
We're making some progress here.
Welcome everyone to TAP. Hearing someone else use my own stupid intro and catchphrase makes me want to just go jerk off furiously. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about AEW's Double or Nothing pay-per-view 2021. We have not done an AEW pay-per-view on TAP in a while. The last one, I believe, was the last one Revolution from, like, 2020?
Did we do All Out?
Possibly.
We might have done All Out.
I can't remember.
Of last year. I can't remember either, but, well, here we are again.
Yes, and the last time that Sean did a AEW review was Revolution 2021 on the Court Martial podcast, yes. And that review went oh so well.
I almost swore off AEW because of it, but I was coaxed back in with my own masochistic force of will.
Yes. So, before we get into the main show, like always, and I bet Sean has money bet on this right now. He has his house bet on this. No, I did not watch the pre-show.
Well, and I bet that Josh again would have money on me maybe watching the pre-show. And do you think I watched it?
Actually, yes, I do think you watched it.
Well, you would be correct, and now you own my house.
Oh, excuse me. The buy-in. The buy-in.
Yes, that's right, the buy-in. Well, here we are, and actually, I can't believe I'm saying this, Joshua, but it was worth watching. Now, let me clarify that. 46 minutes of this was not worth watching. It was just the promos that you're going to see on the show anyway. But the remaining 14 or so minutes with the NWA Women's Championship on the line. Do you mind if I talk about this briefly?
Yeah, go ahead. Wasn't it Serena Deeb versus Riho?
It was indeed Serena Deeb versus the stick in the dress.
The female Japanese Marco Stunt.
And you would not know this because you didn't watch it, but has Riho gotten thinner?
Is that physically possible?
I feel like she actually has lost weight because her waist looks smaller than the posts that are holding up the structure of this house.
Dude, you're assuming that she had weight to lose in the first place.
I know. It's like, but it was like she was gauntier than normal. But this match is Serena Deeb's Shawn Michaels wrestling a broomstick match. Because let me tell you something, folks. Serena Deeb is a miracle worker. I liked this match. And Riho was in it.
Yeah.
They start with a collar and elbow tie-up. There will not be many of those tonight. And, but, Riho's Joshua, if you go back, you should go back and at least watch Riho's collar and elbow tie-up. You will scream with anger.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
It is the worst. Because it's a test of strength, and what strength is Riho going to have? Like, she folds up like a toddler when she goes into it.
Well, you were talking about Shawn Michaels wrestling a broomstick. I mean, at least a broomstick has some meat on it.
Well, this was, yeah, there's some bristles and not just feathery pink tassels that Riho's wearing. Riho did a terrible drop kick. Then she just sold a dragon screw terribly. She has no facials whatsoever. She has one look, and it's mild discomfort. And that's all she's got the whole matchup. is mild discomfort. But Serena, this woman should be pushed way harder than what she is. She is killing it. She's in the right position. She's healing it up. The fans are booing her. They're getting sympathy on Riho that I actually kind of got behind. And I was very uncomfortable because I do not like Riho. We have discussed this.
Yes, we
I'm
have.
being very peaceful because it's the pre-show.
It's very amicable.
And then Serena locks in an abdominal stretch, which with what abdomen? And it's funny because she really couldn't lock it in because there was no abdomen to lock.
Okay, I have to watch this match now.
You may have to watch this match.
Dude, there has to be some kind of person wrestling a very small person that is so small that they cannot do their moves to. You know, like...
You mean like Kenny Omega and the 9-year-old? Oh, wait.
You mean... No, it makes me think of, like, that Soul Calibur 4 game that had Star Wars characters where none of your attacks would work on Yoda because he was too short.
Oh, yeah. Oh, good times. Oh, man, it was just fun. And then they talk about... Tony Schiavone talks about Serena being a yoga instructor, and Excalibur starts rathering on some bullshit about G knows what holds heal and what holds hurt. And I'm like,
what?
Excalibur, you do not convince me for a second that you have even looked at what a yoga pose is in your entire life. You know zero about yoga.
Wait. A submission hold that heals.
No, well, he's talking about yoga and how yoga heals, but he's talking about holds that heal, and like completely tying it into an unrelated part like submissions. When, first of all, yoga is poses. It's not wrestling holds. First of all.
all I had in my brain was like someone putting someone else in a full Nelson, and they just like it like, oh, they got the crick out of my neck, or like it's like a sensu bean, the sensu Nelson.
It's what Drew McIntyre should take as a finisher now, and he could be like the anti-Bobby Lashley, where Bobby Lashley has the hurt lock and Drew McIntyre has the heel lock. All right,
hurt, heel.
All right, that'll be $7.50. Oh man. So anyway, back to this match. Serena is just fantastic. She just does such a great job. Riho actually started selling her leg and kept selling her leg. To her credit, she sold it throughout most of the match. I will give her credit for that. Then Riho does the 308, which is a half pint of the 619. And 619, by the way, being Rey Mysterio's finisher for you dumb kids at home. And the ridiculous thing about this was that how is Rey Mysterio small as it is? How is someone smaller executing this move and worse? Explain.
Honestly,
it was bad.
The last time I watched a Riho match, she did do the 619 allegedly, and I was just like, imagine getting kicked in the face by her is probably like the same as getting kicked in the face by like a praying mantis.
Getting kicked in the face by Riho is like hitting your head onto your pillow before you go to sleep.
Yes.
It's like, pillow. And that's it.
It's like getting a bunch of noodles that you're about to put into the spaghetti jar and just headbutting them. It's just,
yeah. But then Riho made up for it by doing a very Serena-assisted, Serena had a guillotine a la Roman Reigns, and Riho, with a huge assist from Serena, actually turned that into like a Northern Lights plex, which was actually a decent spot. And then we got to AEW, which is what they do. So we did a 6 false finish. We get a double dragon screw where Serena Deeb takes both of Riho's legs and dragon screws both of her legs at the same time. Then they do some more stuff. Serena hits her Serena lock, or whatever, Serenity lock, and Riho taps out, and Serena Deeb wins. And dear God, this was probably the best Riho match I've ever had, but not because Riho was in it, but because Serena Deeb is a goddamn magician.
And Riho just happened to be in it.
Right. And like most AEW matches, it went long, and...
Oh, we will get to that. We will get to that later.
And way later. And one finish would have one comeback would have sufficed instead of trying to get a second set of heat. I hate that AEW does that. One set of heat is fine. That would have been better. It could have been a little smaller, but it was a good match that Serena had with herself. and Riho was there. Riho sucks straight stick.
All right.
And I think that pretty much sets the tone.
Can we set that as like a trend on Twitter, like hashtag Riho sucks straight
Riho
stick?
sucks straight stick.
Wow!
You know what?
Wow.
Still, well, let me tell you something. She did a Snapdragon as well, did Riho's, and Riho's looked worse than Kenny's. Think about that.
Sean, think about this. With the TAP, there are no Keebler elves. So.
That's right. You shot all the Keebler elves.
Yes. I'm wearing their skin as clothes. Anyway, so moving on to the main show.
Yeah. Why don't we just skip right beyond that? Do you love where we're starting, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes.
This is what happens when it's just the two of us.
Yes. And hey, before we started, Sean, in my honor, cracked open a monster, so he's stealing my gimmick.
I did. Well, I figured if I'm introing this show, then I might as well live up to the reputation that its fearless leader has set as a precedent.
Yes. So, overall, before we go match by match, what would you say, like, generally speaking, about Double or Nothing?
I didn't hate it, which is saying something.
Yes.
Because I really hated Revolution.
Yes. Sean and Skylar, who's also on the Court Martial podcast, they're not, let's just say they are not big fans of AEW. And I will say myself, I don't like or dislike AEW. I'm about as neutral as you can get because I barely watch it. Mostly because of the pandemic. Made me lose interest over a year ago. But I watched this show, and I'm gonna be honest, I liked this show, but controversial opinion perhaps, I liked Revolution more.
Well, it's interesting because I think there's a lot of things that are very similar with both shows that are kind of like a constant gripe with me, and I kind of just had to leave those aside. I thought this booking was not nearly as schizophrenic in its finishes, but
I will say there were some things that didn't bother me very much on Revolution that they did again on Double or Nothing that did get on my nerves a little bit.
Yeah, well, we're going to go breakdown by breakdown, but honestly, this show, as always with AEW, somewhere buried in the minutes and hours of filler is a really good wrestling program.
I would agree.
It's just buried under filler, and most of it being 10 or 12 minutes of match time per match.
But also, I will say, this show had a hot audience at the start.
It did.
And it really helps me immediately get into it. Because
absolutely,
wrestling needs fans.
It does.
It really, really, really does.
Yeah, I'm so over the Dunderdome, man. I'm over it.
I was over it when they introduced it.
Yeah.
God, the Dunderdome is getting close to almost 1 year old.
Just kill it.
Think about that. And cry, ladies and gentlemen.
I know. Well, thankfully we had fans, and I will say just one last note on that pre-show match. The crowd was way hot for that, which also really helped its case and helped me actually really enjoy it for what it was.
So, we started the show with Adam Page versus Brian Cage, as JR so eloquently put, Page versus Cage is quite the rage, in a singles match. So, what did you think of this this opening contest, Sean?
Well, I liked the concept of it. I think that there was a lot of things that were really fun about this match, and I also thought there were a lot of things that in execution didn't play out the way they might have wanted. There's
one spot in particular that I hated in this match, but I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a minute, but basically, for me, I thought this was a really good opener, but I had a few problems with it. For one, you know how I am about Finisher Fest matches.
Yeah, there's quite a number of those on this show.
Yes, and it got very, very annoying. And especially for an opener, this went way too long.
Yep.
And they kicked out of way too much. It's the opener. Like,
Yeah.
that F500 from the top rope.
Yes. Yeah,
Like,
that was...
should have been at least a rope break.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
But no, just 2 count, and we're going to talk about this more in the next match.
Yeah. Especially the next match.
Yeah, where I'm going to... For what came next, everything in AEW is too much. It's all too much. It's just too long. And they do too much, and nobody sells it like they should. That's just part of it. AEW is 100 miles an hour and 6 to 10 false finishes every match.
Yes.
I take that off the top as in that is going to be an all-around complaint every time I watch this show.
Yeah, but I will say the one thing that I just straight up disliked in this match, there was a sequence where Brian Cage had Adam in a backbreaker position, and then he started doing reps with him. Then he put him on his shoulders, and that somehow went into a crucifix bomb. It looked so sloppy.
Well,
it just looked awkward to me, and it looked like a Samoan drop, and then they're like, no, wait, it was a crucifix bomb. And I was like, you're supposed to swing your arms a certain way to convey that you're the one doing them. It's one of those situations where you're not sure who's doing the move to who, and it just really made me think that was just weird.
Yeah, and relying on Excalibur to be the voice of reason and giving you... I'm hard-pressed. I can tell if Excalibur said words Michael Cole said in Excalibur's voice, I'd probably still hate it. And if Michael Cole said words that Excalibur said in Michael Cole's voice, I'd probably still hate it. I don't know where I was going with this, but they...
You were just consumed by a cycle of hate for a second there.
I was, but we are, of course, with every AEW show, we are having a collar and elbow tie-up counter. And on the main show, we are at 0.
Yes.
All in all, with the pre-show, we have 1 because the women did it.
But I will say, one thing I did like about this match. Charlotte, watch this match. Charlotte, watch this match and watch Adam Page's moonsault.
Yeah, and speaking of moonsaults, how many moonsaults did we see tonight? 7?
100?
Yeah, and again, we'll get to that in the next match.
Yes, but Adam Page did a perfect, beautiful moonsault to the outside, and I'm just like, Charlotte, that is how you do it. Because whenever Charlotte does it, her arm is the only thing that touches them sometimes.
Yeah. My only disappointment is that Adam Page does that in every match.
Yeah.
I wish he would just pull that out for just random occasions.
Yeah, and I wish that his Deadeye was his main finishing move and not the buckshot lariat, but whatever.
Yeah. Page was taking some great inside-out bumps, just flopping all over the place, hitting the guardrail, hitting the turnbuckle. That power bomb to the post looked nasty.
Mm-hmm.
And then AEW, like they usually do, just disregards the rules because they have a bunch of dickless referees, and they spend at least a minute and a half on the outside without breaking up the count.
Yeah.
And then they do that Frankensteiner counter into that Frankensteiner. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I really, really loved that. That was very slick.
Yeah, that was very cool. But this match was a moves match, but it did have some storytelling to it. I honestly didn't hate this match. I liked the premise of Cage refusing Taz's help going into this match. But let's talk about this finish.
Yeah. Well, before we get into that, I will say, speaking of Taz, honestly, you know how much I dislike heel commentary, right?
I do.
I did not mind Taz's heel commentary. You want to know why?
Because he's not named Don Callis.
Yes, that. And if you do heel commentary, if you're clearly on the bad guy's side, but you give credit where credit is due, then that's fine. But if you're like crazy, just a propaganda machine, it makes me want to turn the TV off.
Yeah.
But if you are just calling the match, but you want someone to win, but you're calling it like you see it, and criticizing your guy when it's appropriate, and praising the guy that you don't want to win when it's appropriate, it makes it feel less cartoonish.
Yeah, no, I think Taz is honestly should just get rid of the sock-faced gremlin over there, Excalibur,
and just pull him out of the stone, throw him across the kingdom, and take your spot at his throne, at his chair.
Yeah, I would, honestly, I love Tony Schiavone, but I always thought he was a better interview guy. I would like just JR and Taz.
Oh, some straight-up 2008 SmackDown vibes.
Because 2008 SmackDown, anytime that those two were together, they had a surprisingly good chemistry.
Yes, they did.
I thought. And I think that if we had actually got a long-term run of Taz and JR before fucking Todd Grisham took over, and speaking of 2008 and 2009, but I think that Michael Cole, what the fuck am I saying?
They're all the same person. It's okay, Sean. They're all the same person.
Teams in pro wrestling now are just so bottom of the barrel that I'm just clawing. I'm begging for something decent. And right now, I think that Taz would be sharp enough for JR to not forget everybody's names.
Like he did later on in the show. JR, there was one point when he forgot someone's name. He looked like the oldest person on planet Earth, and it was kind of sad.
He was slowly but surely checking out of this program.
Yes.
That's what happened. And you could hear it as the night went on.
But anyway, remember that part where he just loudly coughed into the microphone during one of the finishes? Oh, man. Poor JR.
I love JR. Yeah, there's nothing you can do that can make me hate you.
1, 2, 3. Sorry. I'm dying over here.
And now our experience is your experience, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad that you enjoyed that loud, honking, loogie noise right from JoshAgeddon's microphone straight into your earphone. I hope you're wearing headphones.
I'm going to go back in and bass boost that and replay it. So have fun with that, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. And if you can still hear us now, let's talk about this finish.
Yeah.
So, Taz's goons, which is Ricky Starks, who can't get touched because he has a broken neck, and Hook, go up, and Willie Hobbs was not there. I call him Willie Hobbs. I know it's just Powerhouse Hobbs or whatever, but Will Hobbs was doing the Battle Royale. We'll get to that later.
Ugh.
And so Hook and Starks come out, and they're trying to give Brian Cage the FTW belt. And Brian Cage is like, no, I want to do this on my own, and throws it back at Ricky Starks. They're like, what are you doing? Adam Page gets the distraction and then hits the buckshot and wins. Now, what did you think of this finish?
I was like, are they turning Brian Cage face?
You wouldn't know it.
Because, I don't know. I mean, for one, speaking of, not doing a collar and elbow tie-up counter, because we're at 0 right now, we're one match where they did not do a collar and elbow tie-up. Do another counter of run-ins on this show.
Yes, that's a Russo counter.
Yes, because...
we're at 1.
Yes. And when they ran out during this match, I immediately was like, oh, come on.
But I do like the fact that it was... Because the whole premise of this... Because I had to do a little research on this. It's a little research, baby. So, the whole premise was last week on Dynamite, Adam Page was going, ha ha ha, Brian Cage, you're a wuss, you can't beat me without your goons. And Brian Cage is like, I'm machine beat alone. And
I pick Adam Page up and put him down.
Yeah, it's basically. So, the whole premise was that Brian Cage requested to go it alone. And Taz was on commentary, and Taz still brought the goons out. Now, if you were trying to make Brian Cage really try to do this on his own and make him look stronger out of this, why would you have him lose this match? Because you already said that Brian Cage has beaten Adam Page before, and it's Adam Page's only loss. And I know that Adam Page, at this point, if he lost to Brian Cage, it would not kill him. He's still hanging with the Dark Order, so it would not kill him. But this would have, if Brian Cage had won this after refusing to take the help of Hook and Ricky Starks, then Adam Page hits the buckshot lariat, goes for, I know, another 2 count. It's AEW, so just give me a minute here. And then goes up, Adam Page goes to hit again, and Brian Cage actually does win it without Taz's help. Then, because you're already teasing that he's going to split off anyway, right? That's what that throwing the FTW belt back was supposed to signify, wasn't it?
I guess. I think the idea is they might be setting up to put Hangman Adam Page for a future AEW world title shot against Kenny Omega. So they don't really want to have him lose. Plus, he got an insane reaction from the crowd when he walked out. So they didn't want to beat him. But at the same time, they want to make Brian Cage break out of the Taz group and make him a big star. So honestly, I think they just backed themselves into a corner with this one.
Yeah, it's like this was how do you book a finish on this? And this is not a knock on either of these guys. And once again, it's Tony Khan's booking here I'm being critical of, but it just seems to me like what you were. I get what you're trying to go for, right? I get the premise. I just think the execution was off.
Like honestly, if they did not have any plans for Adam Page and he wasn't over like he was on this show, and they beat him, then that would have been fine. If they weren't doing anything with Brian Cage, or planning on doing anything with Brian Cage, and Adam Page won, then that would have been fine. But the fact that they're trying to do too many things at once, which sounds like an AEW specialty right there.
Well, see, to me, this is where I would have gone with that. Okay, mental masturbation. Here we go.
My mouth is wide open.
I bet. So what I would have done here is you have the buckshot lariat. He kicks out at 2. He ducks the buckshot lariat. Brian Cage gets a backslide, gets 3 or backslide, not a roll up. I hate roll ups, but I love backslides. A backslide cover for the pin. He beat him on his own. Adam Page got, but he wasn't soundly like beaten flat. And then they could both look at each other, shake hands. Team Taz can be pissed that Brian Cage still won, but it keeps Adam Page strong enough to where he could keep his record going and still face Kenny Omega down the line. You know, to me, there were better ways to execute this.
Sean, I think you're putting more thought into this match than they did.
I know, and I shouldn't do this. But both of these men are on my roster, damn it. And let me be fair, this Terminator thing that Brian Cage did, I'll be accepting that royalty check in the mail, thank you very much. ACPW is watching.
All in all, I personally thought this was a good match. Some questionable decisions like the length and all of the kickouts and the finish. All that aside, I thought this was a good opening.
So everything except most of it was pretty good.
Yeah. I like the work, aside from that one spot that I thought was weird.
Yeah. Honestly, it wasn't bad.
And the crowd was hot for it.
Yeah. And I get what they were going for. That is more than can be said about some AEW matches.
Yeah. But speaking of your favorite things ever, up next we have the AEW World Tag Team Championship match, and I still hate that the back of the AEW Tag Team belts is snakeskin. That just looks weird. But anyway, we have the Young Bucks defending against Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley in a match that's probably still going on as we speak.
I need to open another monster.
I'll go first on this one.
Yeah, please do.
I loved the first half of this match, and then it went on and on and on and on. It's
an AEW match where you get 3 for the price of 1.
And there was a run-in.
Yeah, obviously.
And I'm looking at it now. I'm on Wikipedia right now. It says the match went 21 minutes. It felt like it went 21 years.
It took, because they did 3 matches for the price of 1. Because that's a Young Bucks match.
Seriously, I just think it's funny that, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks own the company and they're champions and they're having, these 18-hour-long matches. It does kind of feel like they're jerking themselves off a lot.
Well, we're going to get to that, but you want to hear the first thing that I wrote down for this matchup?
Oh, boy.
This is, on my notes here, it says, this will be long, sloppy, and without rules.
That sounds pretty accurate. Although I will say, another thing I did not like, the video package, to get to the Young Bucks, the crux of this match...
I took your shoes.
Our shoes.
That the baby faces stole from the heels.
Yes.
They're literal heels.
We're not WWE. We're the alternative. We're not going to be cartoonish. You're literally feuding over stealing someone's shoes.
And then the fucking Weasley-ass Bucks. You know how much those shoes cost? Oh my god.
That video package immediately took me out of it. But then, I will say...
Don Callis was there to reel you right back in.
I will say, I did enjoy some parts of this match. Like, you know, I'm a Jon Moxley fan. I don't really have much of an opinion on Eddie Kingston, although I do love some of the suplexes he throws.
Yeah.
I do think that the Young Bucks kind of slowed down a little bit, trying to get into their heel persona, because they didn't. At the start they did not fly around at 1,000,000 miles per hour like they usually do. They purposefully slowed it down. But then the longer the match went on, the more they started doing dives, and I was like, never mind.
Even though we got a hot start again.
Yes.
Calling up a tie-up count, it remains at 1. Remains at 0, I'm sorry. Remains at 0 on the main show. My favorite part of this match was just how well received Eddie Kingston was.
Yeah.
I was so happy for him hearing all those chants for Eddie Kingston, because Eddie Kingston from his NWA days.
The crowd so badly wanted Eddie Kingston to win this match.
I'm a big fan of Eddie Kingston, man. He's like my favorite part of AEW. He's just the way his promos. Nobody can cut an Eddie Kingston promo.
Man, dare I say it? This man sparkles.
Yeah, no, he is actually. He's a sparkly 5150. Looks like a sack of shit, but it works because he looks like he was just pulled off the street to kick your ass. This dude is the best. I love Eddie Kingston. He's my favorite part of this match. Moxley, I'm kind of indifferent about at this point. I don't hate him. I don't love him. He's just kind of there. And the Young Bucks are cancer. No, and let me explain, okay? I'm going to do this as calmly as possible.
Oh, God.
But the Young Bucks represent everything I hate about modern pro wrestling. It's I'm going to do whatever moves I want. All I'm going to do is moves. I'm not going to do anything with storytelling. I specifically get a referee who will not bother us while we do double team moves for forever, and we can just break all the rules we want. Then we're going to do moves that other people are doing later on in the night that are actually valuable and we're supposed to mean something later on in the night, but we don't care because we're the Young Bucks and we can do all the moves and we like to do all the moves and we want to do all the moves. So they don't have any respect. I don't think they have any respect for any older wrestlers that came before them. I mean, particularly, I got offended when Nick Jackson decided to put on a sharpshooter. And Sting's wrestling later on tonight. If you're Sting, would you not be pissed?
Just a tad.
That's the thing that bothers me about AEW more than anything else, is the complete disregard for the value of moves. And when you completely devalue the moves, then you devalue the angles that are supposed to supplement the matches. And that's why I can never get into a Young Bucks match. I can never get into looking at their faces. And I'm one of those people where, yeah, I could take on a Young Buck and probably kick the shit out of him at this point in time if I wanted to. And I don't like the fact that I can look at a wrestler and go, I'm tougher than him.
Honestly,
and then they do all these moves and do complete disrespectful things to everybody before them and following. And I do think that they put, like you were alluding to, that they put themselves on the show first, deliberately, so they can get all their shit in and make sure that all the moves, all the value of the moves goes to them and to nobody else.
I mean, okay, in case you guys haven't noticed, Sean McCarty is not the biggest fan of the Young Bucks. Me, I'm more indifferent to them. I think that sometimes their matches can be exciting. Other times, their matches feel the same, kind of. This one kind of felt like the same. I liked the first half, because it felt like they were controlling themselves. And I love Jon Moxley, and I enjoyed watching Eddie Kingston, and he was selling his leg during the match. But then it just went on for 3 more years. And then they just went into, let's just do everything we possibly can in this match, and I just kind of lost interest.
And what the hell were the Bucks? What even was that heel work? What were they doing?
The only thing that they did that was kind of heelish, that kind of worked and I liked, was when they did the shield pose, and they were going to try to go for the triple powerbomb. I liked that.
Yeah, it's just...
I'm grasping at straws here.
Yeah, that's really what it is. Of course, what is wrong with this is kind of just accentuating my point. We are 2 matches in, and we've seen 2 pile drivers.
Yep.
What is it going to take to beat people in match 10 later on tonight?
It took their tag team finishing move. I did like the finish, but at the same time, it took their tag team finishing move 4 tries, the double knees, 4 times on Jon Moxley to put him down.
Yeah, and then Callis sounds like if JBL was born in rural Ohio, and oh god, he was just insufferable. I couldn't listen to Callis.
And I hated when Jon Moxley kicked out of the super kicks at 1. I hated it.
Now they don't care.
I know the super kick is dead. I know, but like the episode of SpongeBob where Squidward goes to the cemetery and he lies the flowers down and he's crying and walking away for like, here lies my hopes and dreams. This me, except it says, here lies the super kick.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And but as usual, JR becomes my spirit animal when he starts shitting on the referees and he starts shitting on everything around him. And it's always my favorite part of AEW because JR was on this ref so bad. And then JR made the point where I forget who was it. It was Moxley. Of course it was Moxley. Got busted open.
Yes.
And JR goes, hey, ref, go to look at it. And JR makes the point to note that Rick Knox had put on the gloves for the blood, but didn't bother to check Moxley's wound at all to be like, hey, are you okay? Like, what's the issue? Like, why'd you put the gloves on? And then Moxley makes his own comeback before he gets a cold tag that's still got a pop. But we got 3 hot tags in this. Why?
Because this match is still going on as we speak. My biggest problem with this match was its length, honestly.
Yeah. And then the babyfaces use a shoe as a heel finish for a 2 count.
The only reason why that got somewhat of a chuckle out of me is because they called it what is the name of the shoe? De jour?
I don't remember.
They called it the De jour's day device. I thought that was somewhat clever.
Yes, I was gonna say it's the shoe de jour.
And also, I hated how like they distracted the referee with one shoe. Did you notice this? They distracted the referee with one shoe, and he had this one shoe, and it took him forever to get this shoe out of the ring. But when they did the move, the other shoe was in the ring, and the referee just grabbed this second shoe and just immediately tossed it.
Rick Knox is hands down the worst referee they have. He's so bad. And then, right at the end of this match, the Bucks are doing something in the ring, another double team in the middle of the ring, ref's not counting, and Callis says to JR, well, what do you want the ref to do? Enforce the rules? Would be a good, so what do you think the referee's there for?
Let's just get rid of the referee and let them count the pins themselves.
My last notes on this was the Young Bucks are the death of wrestling personified. Yuck. So that's how I feel about this match.
The Young Yucks.
Yes.
The Young Yucks.
I just turned into Daniel Bryan there. That's how much I approve of that.
But all in all, I didn't hate this. I thought this was I like the first match more than this match. If this match, if you cut this match in half, I would have liked it.
It's still too long.
Well, even then, like, okay, fine, cut this match into 1/4 of its length. Then it would have been much better. But it did not need to go 21 minutes. It should have gone like 10.
Yeah. This was just
masturbation.
It's a Young Bucks match.
Unadulterated masturbation.
Yep.
And
that's what AEW's all about.
Yep. And up next, we had the Casino Battle Royal for a future AEW World Championship match.
Wait, hold on. I gotta say a joke.
Oh no, I'm scared.
Because it's on Totally Awesome Podcast. I'd say this on the CMP too. Because the Young Bucks being executive vice presidents, they really should have named the show All Ejaculation Wrestling. Because that's really what it is.
Oh boy. Man,
right, let's move on.
The dead Keebler elves that I'm wearing winced at that. Anyway,
oh, man.
So yeah, we had the Casino Battle Royal.
It's the big show. And you know what made me laugh about this before we get started? They made this big hullabaloo about special guest commentator Paul White, as if we hadn't had a guest commentator on every match leading up to this point.
And after this point.
Yeah. It's just, and 4 people on the booth. Way too much.
Yep.
Way too much.
We're not WWE.
Not at all.
We'll get to that later. We'll get to that later. This match was a snooze fest until the last 2 minutes.
This is a decent concept. At least everybody got an entrance this time.
Yeah, I guess.
That was the thing I hated. It's like, at least they get an entrance here. Christian comes out, and he looks like, well, Christian.
Yeah. And
again, the crowd was like, oh, cool?
He's here. One more match? Question mark?
But I'll tell you what my favorite part of this was. As far as this opening bunch. Max Caster, this fucking rapper.
Oh.
Let me tell you why I thought this was hysterical. This dude had 4 bars prepared backstage. And it was very obvious when he ran out of bars.
Yep.
Because he started, he's like, Dustin, yo, Dustin.
Look at me. Look at me.
And Dustin's like, what? He goes, yo.
He did do that.
He didn't even have anything. And then I loved when, like, after that, then he made, like, a half face-painted joke that was really bad, and then he just fucking vamped for, like, 2 seconds, and it was like, he was done.
He had one sick burn for Christian, and then he was out of material.
That was it. And then JR right after that goes, hey, Paul, what? Yo. And everyone's like, yo. The whole commentary team did it.
If I was on commentary and I was Paul White and JR was like, yo, I would have went just, no.
And then, you know what? I loved JR and Paul White on this commentary team because they were having fun. Like, JR was like, oh, the countouts are irrelevant. And then Paul White's like, the disqualifications are irrelevant.
The submissions are irrelevant.
It's like, you guys are having way too much fun. But I loved that. I thought Paul White, I was weird. I was kind of like, how is he going to be as a commentator in general? Like when he got signed as a commentator, I loved him on commentary. I want to hear more of Paul White on commentary.
But like, one thing I will say that I both kind of am okay with and kind of hate the rules for this match because it feels so much like we don't want to have a Royal Rumble, but we're going to have a Royal Rumble with even more bells and whistles on it, plus playing cards.
Yeah, I mean, it fits the bill that they were doing when it launched.
I thought the gimmick was kind of annoying.
I think the gimmick is improving. At least they're getting entrances now.
Yeah.
But...
And when Justin Roberts was like, and finally, the Joker! I'm sad Joaquin Phoenix didn't walk out. Because, like...
we got a different celebrity later on, which was equally as confusing.
You mean you aren't a big fan of Lee? Can you not feel the rush?
Yeah, oh, Jesus Christ. I wasn't even talking about him. I was talking about way later. But, so... You probably don't know this, but Christian and Matt Sydal were recently, like, wrestling each other past couple weeks, where they had, like, a feud but not a feud about being in this Battle Royal. Why would you put them both in this first pairing and then not have them interact and then have Matt Sydal be eliminated by somebody else?
Because you're putting more thought into this match than they did?
And then the Dark Order shows up. What is it? What is the Dark Order? I still have not gotten a concrete answer to what this... It's viral marketing. That's all I know.
It's a cult, and they hire fat people and then eat them. Question marks?
Do they turn them into chocolate?
I don't know if Majin Buu is a part of the Dark Order, but...
That would be a reveal.
Majin Buu's too busy invading TAW right now, so...
That might be the only way to save the Dark Order is have Majin Buu behind it. That would be the only redeeming way to actually get it back to a place of somewhat reputation. And this, but this match, I mean, the problem was they really did not know how to shoot this match as far as filming it, because they missed pretty much every elimination. Everybody was confused, even the commentators, as to who got eliminated by who. Pentagon comes in, and I laughed because they have the Acclaimed, right, who's Max Caster and his partner, because they didn't even mention what the partner's name was.
Yeah.
Of the Acclaimed. They're like, oh, it's the other half of the Acclaimed, and we never got his name, and then he got eliminated.
Yep. I remember there was one person that came in. I can't remember. It might have been him, but they were like, "Oh yeah, this dude's a big deal, kind of," and then immediately thrown out. And I was like, "Well, that was kind of pointless."
Yeah. And then halfway through this match, Christian and Willie Hobbs decide to just leave the ring and just kind of take a nap on the outside while everyone else did their spots.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And Paul White's like, "Where the hell is he? Where's Willie Hobbs? Where the hell is this guy?" He asked all the time. He's like, "Where is he?" And for 5 minutes, he did not get an answer until finally he showed up. And I don't know whether you heard this. JR took a jab, and is like, I forgot what happened with it being outside the ring, or somebody was double teaming or a low blow. And JR's like, "Well, in case you need to be reminded, it's no disqualification." Oh, JR. And then Jungle Boy came out, and I like his theme music.
The crowd was into Jungle Boy.
And I understand why. I think Jungle Boy's got some potential.
Me too.
I really do.
He looks like Heath Ledger.
He does.
He should have been the Joker.
Maybe. But this was, and then I don't know why the private party was wearing the stuff that they were just wearing in the club. That's who
got eliminated pretty much immediately. Private Party. I was like, remember when they were like kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And in this match, they got eliminated. They did their tag team finishing move and then just got eliminated.
Well, they were there, but then they did this they did a couple things, like they were with Matt Hardy, trying to help Matt Hardy, and then I forgot who it was at the very end who just completely took them down. It was not Leo Rush. It was somebody else. Leo Rush came in, who was the big Joker reveal.
Oh, yeah.
And in true clown fashion, did 3 moves and got eliminated.
Yep, I noticed that as well. Like, he used Ultra Instinct for like 30 seconds and then was eliminated.
And this camera crew was just inept at recording this. There was too much going on. They gave the worst shit stunner, that was like springboard stunner.
Oh my god.
The worst I've ever seen. John Cena cringed at that one.
Well, yeah. Not even that. He screwed it up. Like, he tried to go for the bounce on the bottom rope, which is such a stupid thing to do in the first place. He tried to go for the bounce on the bottom rope, screwed it up, and then they tried to do it again, and the stunner looked awful.
Yeah. And then when he got eliminated, I actually popped. I'm like, "Thanks for coming, Leo, you little yachty hair-having bitch."
Wow.
I'm
honestly,
not a big fan of Leo Rush.
I couldn't tell. I want to see a third Young Buck, Leo Rush. Anyway.
Oh God. No, I would take Leo Rush over the Young Bucks, but it's a very small margin.
I as soon as he screwed up the stupid springboard stunt. I never want to see the springboard stunner ever again from anyone, from any human being. Just do a regular stunner.
But this wasn't even the first one on the night, and it wasn't even the last one on the night.
It was the worst one on the night.
We had 3 of them. That's ridiculous. But when it got to the final 3 of Jungle Boy, Christian, and Matt Hardy, I loved it.
It picked up significantly.
That's what happens with these casino battle royals. I think most of the match sucks, and then you get to the final 2 or 3 people, and then it gets good.
At least it wasn't a tag team casino battle royal this time, because that was at Revolution, and that one sucked, in my opinion.
That was bad.
Because that's just a stupid... let's have a tag team Royal Rumble. That's just dumb.
Yeah, and that one was actually Royal Rumble rules. This was actually Casino Battle Royale.
We're not WWE.
Yeah, and then Jungle Boy ends up winning it, and then Marco Luchasaurus ruined the moment with Christian. That would have been so much better if it was just him and Jungle Boy and there wasn't the certainty as to what Christian was going to do, rather than having the fucking midget come out and hug his testicles and Luchasaurus come out and actually puncture his horns through Jungle Boy's testicles, and then Christian goes and hugs him. I could have done without the Jurassic Express getting involved until after Christian came and left. That's all.
But
put it in the right order.
I saw Marco Stunt and I immediately clocked out. I mean, I want to see a match between Marco Stunt and Riho, and the loser has to admit that they're actually a child. So,
double count out.
Double count out. We're both children.
That's right.
We're both children.
Imagine you close the show like that. Both of them just saying simultaneously, "We're both children." Credits.
Cuts to black.
Oh, Vince McMahon would be proud.
Oh, man. But yeah,
So the Battle Royal. Good for Jungle Boy.
Good for Jungle Boy. I look forward to the match with Kenny Omega. That I most likely will not watch because, again... But anyway, up next we had... whatever this was, Cody Rhodes versus Anthony Ogogo in a singles match. And
you mean this is the Revolutionary War match?
Yes.
Between the Cody, I'm not racist, so let's beat up the British black guy match.
Yes, of course. He's the American dream after all.
And while I'm on the subject, I take great exception to the fact that Cody is using the American dream.
Yeah,
and is actually believing that people view him as a babyface in this situation.
I didn't really care for that. I would have much preferred if you stayed with the American Nightmare thing. And
this is the guy that gets upset when people mention his father, and yet he's going to try and carve out his legacy through one he hasn't earned?
Yep.
Just saying.
Yep.
I'm just saying. I called this 3 years ago when he started using the American Nightmare. I called that he was going to inevitably do this. And here we are. And I'm really disappointed. I'm really disappointed in him that he would do this and prove me correct. Do you think we got a collar and elbow tie-up in this match?
Honestly, I can't remember because I was just so baffled as to what was going on in this match.
The answer is no, because of course not. The count is still at 0 going into this match. And then I basically fell asleep.
Okay, you texted me this, and I thought this was very revealing. You said this might be the worst Cody Rhodes match I've ever seen.
At least in AEW.
At least in AEW.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, it couldn't be that bad. And I didn't think it was bad. It's just, it just felt so out of nowhere, random, and Ogogo is a green.
Yeah, the story was bad. Just straight up bad. Anthony Ogogo did the F5 into a deep 6. Is that an F11?
Alt tab F9.
Yeah, I'm pig up.
One thing that immediately got on my nerves. We were talking about Paul White a minute ago. What was his finish in the WWE?
Chokeslam.
Other than that,
that weird final cut move?
A punch.
Oh, right, WMD.
The WMD, a punch.
I never view that as a finisher, but yeah, you're right.
Neither do I, and that's why I hated it whenever he used it. And it was dumb because why didn't you just immediately do that as soon as the match started? Because this dude is a boxer, it was like every punch he threw was like kryptonite to Cody Rhodes' Superman. And I'm just like, then why doesn't Ogogo just corner Cody Rhodes, punch him 1 billion times, and win?
Because Cody doesn't do that.
That's stupid.
Yeah, you're right.
It is.
And then we got a frog splash.
I thought he did a decent frog splash.
He did do a decent frog splash. And speaking of decent things, I just want to wind the clock back one quick second. I now have an all-time favorite spine buster, and that was Will Hobbs' spine buster. That thing was beautiful.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. That was a really good spine buster.
I love Robert Roode's as well, and I will never not love Arn Anderson's or Triple H's, but Willie Hobbs, that spine buster's gold. You give that to him, you could make something with that. Anyway, but speaking of people who are not that person, like a Gogo doing the Rock thing, but he's not the Rock.
Yeah, he started positioning like he was going to go for the people's elbow, and then he just didn't. And I was like...
He just went for a regular elbow.
The Gogo elbow bow.
The biggest problem I have with this match is it had no pace. It slowed down in all the wrong spots.
Dude, the crowd died during this match.
They didn't care. Because there was nothing to get behind in this. Nothing. And then of course, all the interference, so we could just have Russo counters.
Yes, we had... Alright, so we had a run-in in the first match, a run-in in the second match, excuse me. We had a run-in the second match, and, like, at the halfway point, and then they got taken out and put to the back, and then 30 more minutes elapsed in the second match, so I didn't really see the point of that. And now in this match, we have another run-in.
Gallows looked like fucking Dude Love for whatever reason.
he did have a weird looking outfit.
Why? I don't know, but he did. This company, man. And then we get a vertebraker.
Yes, a vertebraker.
What? When has Cody ever done a vertebraker? It was the finish, but when?
I have seen him do a vertebraker before in like New Japan.
Not to win a match. And why would you do this with this guy? This guy's... I mean, I understand this guy's green, but, like, are you just trying to be like, oh, you're a rookie, and now I've proved you're a rookie, and now you're still a rookie? Why have him on TV, then? It honestly
made me feel like Cody was like, okay, so this is, like, one of the most dangerous moves you can do to someone. You want to see it real quick? And Gogo's like, yes. And then he did it to him.
It was just... honestly, I feel like this match was only here just to get Cody Rhodes on the card.
Yeah, it very much felt like that.
This was bad. This was just not good. Nothing about this match was good. The pace was bad, and this is a perfect example of why I make a collar and elbow tie-up counter. I bet you if they had started with a collar and elbow tie-up and with some slow wrestling to help this kid along in his development, and they had a basic match with basic stuff, I bet this would have gone a lot better.
And but also, if they
started hot and made this about America, which made no sense.
And if they also didn't do the stupid, I'm so sick and tired of the trope of, we have a boxer that is a wrestler, therefore his fists are more dangerous than everyone else's. Well, why don't they immediately punch them and win? And why does everyone else have fists made of rubber? It's dumb. And I will always hate it. I hated it when... I get it. The Big Show has a big fist. I get it.
That at least makes sense.
I still hated it, though. And I hate that Lacey Evans uses a punch, even though it has a funny pun name, which kind of makes up for it. But still, I will never, ever get behind someone, my thing is I punch. I will never get behind that.
And I'm British. And you're American just made this about America versus Britain, which, why are we fighting again?
And I have a last name that is impossible not to make fun of.
Yeah, and thank God he's got a more regularly named last name partner in Nick Camarado.
This was not very good. This was not
good at all. But at least it helped this next match.
Yes. Up next we had Miro versus Lance Archer for the AEW TNT Championship. I was really looking forward to this match. And honestly, I was kind of concerned when it started because immediately Lance Archer turned into Brie Bella. He tried to do a dive over the top rope onto Miro, but his foot got caught and he tipped over and it looked awkward and Miro had to bump anyway and I died laughing.
Yep. This was the collar and elbow tie-up remains at 0 on this show.
And then, and spoilers, later on in the match, Jake Roberts ran in. So we have another run-in.
Another Russo counter. Chalk that up.
Stop!
And
there doesn't need to be a run-in in every match.
They can't. They cannot. They have... This is AEW format, Josh. This is it. It's 10 false finishes, run-in, jump start. No collar and elbow tie-ups. Well... almost no collar and elbow tie-ups.
I just want to see 2 people wrestle and one of them win.
You will not get that in AEW.
That is what I want. You don't get it in WWE half the time either.
Yeah, isn't that... Ain't that some shit?
You don't get that in NXT a lot of the times either.
Yeah.
God, I just want to see dude or girl number 1 wrestle dude or girl number 2 and one of them win.
22. Well, you're going to have to go to Ring of Honor and see Danhausen and PCO. No, that's just pro wrestling in 2021.
All that said, I did enjoy this match.
The first half of this match, I didn't get into it because it was just moves and there was very little psychology. The belly to belly I call them onto the plants, but onto the crowd that wasn't really a crowd. That was nice.
I kind of popped for that. I thought that was funny.
But they did a table spot that the cameras missed. It wouldn't be the last.
Yep.
And nobody cared because the table spot means so little in AEW because it was just there to have. And
I'll tell you why I didn't care about it. It's not that the camera didn't pick it up. It's because Lance does this thing where he has like this manic, frantic energy where he's constantly screaming and throwing things. And it feels very Mojo Rawley. And that's not a compliment. Like when he got in the ring and tried to give Justin Roberts a heart attack. It feels extra and you don't need to do it and it's kind of annoying.
Well, it would have been okay if they didn't just derail him and make his first match in AEW against Marco fucking Stunt. And then have him lose to Cody at the pay-per-view thereafter.
And it would also help if he didn't botch the very first move in this match.
Yeah, this was... I like Lance Archer, but these two have psychology, but they didn't bother to use it until the second half of the match.
Yeah, the second half of the match really picked up.
I didn't care at all until Jake Roberts... Funnily enough, it was only when Jake Roberts got involved that I actually gave a shit.
I really liked that, like, he had the bag, and you assume that the snake is in there, and then Miro grabs the bag and launches it up the aisleway. Obviously, there's not a snake in there.
I love
peeling back the fourth wall, ladies and gentlemen, but I loved that.
I loved that. I thought that was, like, perfect heat for Miro.
Yes.
You know, it's exactly what somebody like him should do.
And did you see that on Twitter? He went like, "I hope PETA doesn't get mad at me for that."
Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah, but I love the reaction the crowd had to it, too. They were just, like, shocked. That was what reminded me of how good Miro actually could be. You know, it's nice to see him kind of back in form after his debut was just garbage. It's better seeing him now. Yeah. And especially once Jake Roberts got involved, it was fun, but I did not like this finish.
I also did not like... This match was 9 minutes and 50 seconds. This was not even 10 minutes long. These two...
I think that's okay, given these two. I don't know if I would have wanted a longer match between these guys.
Well, a longer match with a different structure.
Yeah, it's... Because here's the thing, right? Here's the finish of this is that they got a choke out, right? Miro eventually just got like a guillotine or like a rear naked choke on Lance Archer, and Lance Archer eventually passed out. This is why I didn't like this finish. You have Lance Archer with Jake Roberts, who is, I think, a heel? I think? Well, apparently not, because Miro is... They were obviously babyface in this situation. But why not give Archer something to work with? All they have done since they brought Archer here is weaken him and weaken him and weaken him. First by going 9 minutes with Marco Stunt, then having him lose to Cody, then having him do jack all of nothing.
You mean to tell me his match with Marco Stunt was just about as long as this match?
Yes.
God, why?
Yes. And now we have this match where he gets choked out. I understand trying to build up Miro as a monster. That's fine. I don't mind that, and I don't mind not wanting to tap him out either. But maybe just have him pin the guy. I don't know.
And I also feel like he made Lance pass out way too quick.
Yeah, well, that was the thing, too. It was very short order, and it's like, why? What did Archer do? What did he do to you guys to just bury him like this? And having Jake Roberts is not enough. Let me tell you something. If you could have the entirety of the 80s locker room in your corner. But if you're losing matches convincingly, night in and night out, against people that you shouldn't even be in the ring with, nobody's going to care.
Yep.
And the only thing I cared about in this match was Jake Roberts, because that's what they're telling me to care about. And it's just, I don't know. I'm full of promos tonight, but this was just not the finish I would have gone with. This did nothing for Archer, and I'm a little disappointed in that.
I was kind of let down by this match, mostly because of the length and the way it was kind of weird starting off, and me getting sick and tired of run-ins in every match. But I thought it was fine. I thought it was okay.
Yeah, the first half was blah, but the second half was all right.
With a meh finish.
With a meh finish. It's, again, I get the premise, but I don't like the execution.
I don't think I really cared for the execution of this next match. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, versus Hirakushida for the AEW Women's World Championship. Firstly, they got a new AEW Women's belt. It looks like it's maybe 2 centimeters wider than the previous one.
It's better.
It's better, kind of. It looks like an oval. It is an oval.
Victorian heads on it, make it silver, and make the strap yellow.
It looks like they're wearing an egg.
Pretty much.
Why?
It's the championship egg.
Well,
now, I'm surprised that you didn't like this match.
Oh, I liked it. I just thought a lot of it was kind of sloppy.
Well, okay, I'll give you that. But this was my favorite match on the whole show. I thought the story, the execution of some of the moves absolutely was sloppy. Will not say
that is my only complaint with this match.
But I think the storytelling was surprisingly good. And I think Hikaru has gotten much better at doing a more American-centric style of her work. And understands how to work American style better than she did when she first won the belt. And I think Dr. Britt Baker has come a long way.
Yes, she has.
From where she was before, and arguably is more airtight in her moves than a lot of the people you would expect to be airtight on their moves on this show.
Dude, remember when you and Skylar were starting to do the the fantasy draft thing you guys were doing? When you started doing this, I gave you Britt Baker as a joke to mess with you. Do you remember that?
I do, and not to say what I've done with my fantasy booking. If you want to find that out, you're going to have to subscribe to the Core Martial podcast. We just recently did an episode. But Dr. Britt Baker is very actively featured, and now as my fantasy league sets to open up a women's division, I'm really happy I still got her on the squad.
You're welcome.
She has really improved.
You're welcome.
From the days of doing the worst cutter I've ever seen in my life.
Yes. God, that was awful.
To this.
She has come a long way. She has come a long way.
Yeah. So this match begins. Well, it begins with a couple sloppy punches to ourselves, and then there's this breakup. But then they make up for that by having a collar and elbow tie-up.
Oh, I can feel the warmth and the embrace from Sean right now.
And here's the surprise. It's the only one of the night.
I'm sure no one is surprised. Oh, God, I almost forgot about this. There was a point in the match. You were talking about the useless referees.
Yes.
There is a point where frickin' Rebel is on the outside, and she tries to whack Sheeta with the crutch. She does not whack Sheeta. She accidentally whacks Britt Baker right in the head, and the referee is staring at them the whole time and just ignores it.
Yes.
And my God.
And that wasn't the finish.
It was just a thing they did. He didn't even eject her.
Nope, there was nothing. No, I made a note of that too. I'm like, oh, God damn it.
The referees in this company are the worst.
They're told to suck, and so they do.
How was that? How in the world was that not a disqualification?
But aside from that, a lot of the rest of the rules were actually applied here. Britt Baker actually breaking up the count and outside, going back into the ring, so referee doesn't have to look like a dunce cap and have to just be like, 9. Okay, get back inside.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
There is a lot of that. There is a lot of that.
No, and my big issue with Hikarushida here was that she looked. I like Hikarushida. I'm not a huge fan of most Japanese women's wrestlers, as most of the time. I liked Kairi Sane a lot. I liked Asuka before she regressed into what she is today.
Asuka.
I liked Hikarushida, even though she was more Japanese style and it was a little clash, but she was still doing solid stuff. I did not like her outfit here, and I'll tell you why. One of the issues that I have with people who critique women's wrestling, like Jim Cornette, because you know very much, Joshua, that I'm a big Cornette guy.
Yes.
One of my biggest issues with Cornette is that he calls pretty much every Japanese woman that comes over and wrestles in America a Japanese schoolgirl. Hikaru Shida is one of those few women that I really like, and I think that outfit just furthers that narrative.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
I think she could have had a better outfit so that the stereotype would not have been perpetuated.
Yep.
But she did all right here. I think they all did all right. I think this match, Britt's strikes look like she's actually laying them in.
Yep, and when one thing I noticed, when she put the glove on to go for lockjaw, the crowd got more into it.
Yeah, no, Britt definitely knows how to heal it up.
Yep.
And she also knows when to slow things down. This match had a really good pace to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do this thing with the comeback where they put like the fingers in the nose and like try to pull back, but Shida never really pulls back, so it like just looked like Shida just stuck her fingers in Britt's nose.
Yeah, got some boogers.
And then they zoomed up on it, and then she let it go, and like nothing happened. And I was like, okay, that kind of derailed things.
Britt Booger, DMD.
Yeah, and then Britt Baker did a really bad looking sling blade, and I don't like sling blades to begin with, but this one was particularly bad.
And there was another instance where they tried to do some kind of fireman's carry thing on the top rope, and they just slipped.
They slipped.
And it looked like Britt Baker accidentally DDT'd Shida on the ring post and smashed her head against it, and I was like, ooh, I bet that hurt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're not perfect. Britt's still, she's improved.
And I did think it was funny when the announcers were like, oh, they're perspiring a lot, so they're slipping.
Shut up, Excalibur.
All right, calm down.
And of course, then it was an AEW match, so it started going long.
Yes.
But it was still on the more solid side. Then they do this crutch misfire thing.
Yep.
And then Britt does a freaking curb stomp, not the finish. And then finally, Britt Baker gets the lockjaw in and gets the tap out and wins the belt. And this would have been great if this was the only 20-plus minute match on the show.
Yeah, I was actually thinking the exact same thing. You were talking about they turned into AEW where the match went too long and they did a billion finisher kickouts. If you have a match that goes long on a show and there's a lot of kickouts, if you have one match like that, or maybe two, then it can work. But if every match is like that...
Yeah, it doesn't.
The worst part is this is not complicated.
No.
This is not complicated.
But like you said, we're giving it more thought now than they did going into it.
Sean, just a blast from the past real quick. Remember the John Cena U.S. Open Challenge?
I do.
Do you remember why I hated it so much?
Because it was massively long matches all the time with everybody?
It was this over and over and over again.
Yeah.
When they did Alberto Del Rio versus John Cena at Hell in a Cell, whatever year it was, I think it was 2015, and Del Rio won with one kick, I was shocked because there wasn't 8 trillion finisher kickouts.
Yeah.
I don't... I finisher kickouts. Again, everything we're saying is completely common sense and not hard to follow.
Yeah. And
if you do a match where you have a bunch of finisher kickouts, it can work. Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, masters of doing it.
Cena Styles 2017.
And then they did it worked at SummerSlam. It did not work as much at Royal Rumble because you knew exactly what they were going to do.
You're right. SummerSlam was the better.
And that's why the U.S. Open Challenge didn't work for me.
Yeah.
Is because every time they did a move, I immediately knew 1, 2, whoa.
Yeah.
1, 2,
Exactly.
whoa. It's boring.
Yeah. And that's kind of what it is. It's like, that's the only thing that hurt this for me. But I thought it was Hikaru best match I've ever seen her have. Britt Baker has gotten so much better. The pacing was good. It just went long.
Yeah.
But if this was the only 20-plus minute match on the show, I would have been fine with this.
And the only match that had 8 trillion finisher kickouts, it would have been much better.
Yeah, this was still my favorite match all night.
Up to this point, I will say this was the best match on the show, in my opinion. Up to this point.
Props to the women here for being the only ones who did collar and elbow tie-ups, but also did the closest thing resembling pro wrestling all night. I did not expect most of the time when we watch WWE, Joshua.
Yeah.
Most of the time we're like, oh, the women's division, it's gonna be at best.
At best, there's going to be good wrestling, but the WWE does not care enough about the women's division to book it properly, or it's going to be some of the most horrendous botch fest you've ever seen.
Yeah. Neither of these matches, I mean, not that they were the cleanest things you've ever seen, just for the fact that you've got Hikaru and Riho in them, but both of these women's matches were still really good compared to what else the rest of the matches are going to be on AEW. And I do respect the fact that AEW, from where they started in their women's division, which let's not even talk about it, to now, to where there's actually been a halfway decent build, and Britt Baker deserves this belt. She's worked hard for it.
Yep.
Hikaru Shida's done a really good job for the past year of going through the pandemic and putting on at least halfway decent matches. And they've really thinned out the herd in the women's division to a point where it's halfway respectable, and I do give AEW credit for that.
Agreed. Skylar is going to kill you when he hears this podcast.
I know.
You're being too nice, Sean.
I know.
But
hey, maybe if there's any one match to watch on the show, in my opinion, it's this one.
Okay, so I don't know how you're going to take this, but my favorite match on the show was the next match. Darby Allin and Sting versus Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky.
I will admit, this was fun.
I really enjoyed this match.
I did too.
The way this match was structured, the way it felt, and the way they did it, this is exactly what the Young Bucks match should have been.
Yeah, pretty much.
This was so much better than the Young Bucks match.
And I do have to give credit to all the tag divisions here, including the Young Bucks. The backslap tags were at a minimum tonight.
Yeah.
We mostly just saw regular slaps on the hand, which I do respect. Even the Young Bucks, I will give the Devils their due. But this match, I mean, that big taking the shirt off with Sting doing the dive, that was fun.
Yeah. Sting looked limited, but what he did do, he did very well.
And made a lot of sense.
Yes.
Too.
The dude pulled out a code red, kind of.
What?
He tried.
That was a sunset flip. That was not a code red.
Sorry. I've been buying into the propaganda from your boy Excalibur.
Yeah, no, that was Dustin Rhodes does a code red. That was Sting doing a sunset flip that they wanted so hard to be a code red.
He tried.
It was just not going to be a code red.
He tried. It was admirable.
Now, here's my issue with this match. I like Scorpio Sky. I really like Sting. I've come around on Darby Allin. I used to not like Darby Allin, but he's one of the few people who actually lays his punches in hard. And the bumps he takes and the way he sells, I've become more of a fan of Darby Allin.
Yeah, you know me, I have a sweet spot for Darby Allin.
I really don't like Ethan Page.
He was just kind of there.
Ethan Page, I think, was the most inexperienced of these four individuals, and I think it showed. I really wanted this to just have one comeback and one hot tag, but it did this. I can can only accept so much. But then they do another spot where they throw the guy into the crowd.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? You're going to do that twice in one night?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You can't even value that?
This one was better than... They should have just not even done the one with Lance Archer, because this one was the better spot.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I also loved the... Although, again, we did not start off with a collar and elbow tie-up, as I'm sure Sean would astutely point out. But we did start out with an absolutely insane suicide dive from Darby Allin. This dude just... Whenever he... Like, say what you want about everyone doing dives, but at least Darby Allin puts 110% into his dives.
If there was any match to start hot, I think this would have been the one to do it. I think that with Sting's return for the first time in 6 years, this would have been the one to do it. If you, again, kind of like we were talking about with, if you're going to have a 20-minute plus long match, do it once, maybe twice. If you're going to have a hot start, do it once, maybe twice. This would have been the time to do it. Yep. And then Sting no-selling the suplex was fun. Yeah. You know, it was just nice to see Sting's greatest hits. Yeah. Which is really what it was. And then, but here's my issue, right? So they do the Darby Allin gets the shot onto Ethan Page to get ready for this hot tag, right? For when Sting's going to come in. So Darby Allin's crawling, and he's crawling slowly, and he's trying to get the Sting. And Ethan Page is just standing in the corner looking like a fucking doofus. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, I noticed that.
Instead of going over to get the tag to Scorpio so Scorpio can get halfway in when Darby Allin gets the tag to Sting so he can feed Sting, Ethan Page just sits there like a dumbass, and Sting gets the hot tag, comes in, and Scorpio Sky has to come in from the outside and feed Sting by himself because Ethan Page doesn't know where to be and had no idea of his position.
And I also did not really care for there's a way to do this where you get the hot tag but the ref doesn't see it, so you have to get back on the apron. They tried that in this match, but it was kind of awkward, and it really slowed the pace of the match down, and not in a good way.
I feel like if they had done the second hot tag as the only hot tag, that would have worked so much better. Yeah. Because the second hot tag was done right. Yeah. This one was just bad because Page just doesn't have a fucking clue where to be. And I think that he's super inexperienced for that. I mean, that's AEW for you, but this... I thought that for a guy who had made his name in tag team wrestling, he'd be a little better at it.
But now, Sean, I will tell you, my favorite thing on this entire show was the finish of this match.
Was it the subs and the slapping each other while they're in the submissions?
Well, I love that. I love that too. But, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that for a second, because we had the proper Scorpion Deathlock in this match.
Yeah, it's a shame that Nick Fuckface put one on earlier in the show and ruined it showing up, because it would have gotten a bigger pop if they hadn't seen one earlier.
Yep. And then Darby Allin comes in, and he has a submission on Darby Allin, and then they're fighting each other. I've never seen like two people in two different submission holds start punching each other. I thought that was awesome.
I just wish that they didn't have that like brief moment where they see each other and like wait, because it waited a little too long for them to do the slaps, because it kind of made it look like, oh, they're setting it up to do that.
Yeah, it could have been a little quicker.
But that's picking nits.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, what this match was actually pretty good. One death drop.
The finish.
Done.
Was awesome. Perfect. I loved this finish.
Now, Scorpio Sky is a big fan of Sting.
Yes.
So I'm sure that Scorpio insisted one death drop.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay, so for those of you that didn't watch, he tried to do the springboard cutter, but Sting catches him because he holds onto the rope and then gives him the death drop and pins him. I love this so much because this was, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but this was somewhat of a callback to one of the best Sting matches I've ever seen. It was in like the late 90s. It was in late 99 when WCW was really starting to go under, and Diamond Dallas Page was the world champion for the first time. It was DDP versus Sting on an episode of Nitro, and they tore the house down. And the finish of that match, DDP tries to go for the diamond cutter, Sting hooks the ropes, and then hooks him for the death drop, and hits him with it, and pins him with it, and wins the world title. And it was an awesome finish.
Wasn't that 98, though?
It might have.
Oh no, because that was Goldberg. 98 was Goldberg.
Yeah, it was 99. It was 99. But 99. Yeah.
But Page had already been world champion, I think, twice at that point.
No, he won the world title, turned heel, then he lost it to Sting, and then he won it back later that night in a fatal 4-way match with Nash and Goldberg. And then he won it from Jeff Jarrett in that cage match, and then he lost it to, David Arquette.
Right. But initially he had won a fatal 4-way match to win the world title that he was, I believe. Was that in 99? When he won that fatal 4-way match? That might have been Slamboree 99, actually.
Something like that.
Yeah, you might be right there. Well, in any event,
I loved that callback. I loved that callback.
It was a great finish, and this was honestly probably the best men's match on the show.
Yeah, without a doubt.
This was easily the best. It had Darby Allin. I like him. The more I see him, the more I like him. Scorpio Sky is great. Sting is Sting.
Yeah.
And Ethan Page can suck a bag of dicks.
He just needs more experience, Sean. You can't get the shaft on your first try. You've got to massage it.
But this is the same guy who pulled his own heart out and ate it. That's the same dude who did that match with himself. This is Ethan Page, the karate man. Let me pull out my own fucking heart. And then get mad about it and blame Impact for going along with that and not it being what he wanted it to be.
I still think you need to give him time to learn how to properly massage the... Anyway, moving on. We have...
The atrium and the ventricles. Just getting scientifically correct here. Let's move on.
Yes. Slobber all over that boober. Anyway, we have... Honestly... We have Kenny Omega defending the AEW World Championship against Orange Cassidy and Pac in a 3-way match. Now, in a way, I wish this was the main event.
Understandable.
But at the same time, I do not understand why you would put a comedy wrestler like Orange Cassidy in a world title match. I mean, I know WWE did that with Santino once, and he kind of got over, but still, I could not get into this match because of Orange Cassidy.
The hype for Orange Cassidy has 100% waned. The edge is off of OC, and you could tell by the crowd. They do not care for him anymore. You could tell. And, boy... he was out of place. This was Omega versus Pac. It's the only Kenny Omega match in AEW I've really, really liked. Was when Omega and Pac had their one-on-one match. I think that was Double or Nothing? No, All Out, I think.
It might have been like Fyter Fest or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, but they had a match that was really good. They mentioned it in this match. That match I really liked.
This made me wish it was a singles match between Kenny and Pac.
Orange Cassidy was just kind of there.
Yep. And also, guess what? His finishing move apparently is a punch!
It's the Superman punch.
Get it because he's an orange?
Get it because he's an orange? Even though he's not even tan. He's not even a shade of orange. If he had the Donnie tan, that would be one thing. But he's a pale white guy that just wears a denim jacket and pants.
But he's orange.
For Christ's sakes. This is just... Let me ask you something. Which is worse? Greg Hamilton having a stroke in the middle of saying Kevin Owens, or Justin Roberts just having a glitch moment where he just gets a little sprinkle of water in his eye socket and just goes, oh, Mega.
Honestly, I would take Justin Roberts any day over Greg Hamilton, honestly.
Yeah, Greg the Hamwich Hamilton. It's, yeah. They're both pretty bad. Although I did think it was funny that Justin Roberts did that entire O and then stopped, took a breath, Mega.
Yeah, that was kind of comical.
Mega. Actually, that would be better.
Yeah.
O is my middle name.
Kenny Omega.
Yes, that's right. Because I'm mega. I'm mega over the top with all my goofy facials and goddamn shenanigans.
Remember when he did the
Sorry, I got Danger Will Robinson. We know that AEW is hearing us talk about changing Kenny Omega's name, and now they're heading towards my location.
I was about to say, is there like a severe thunderstorm coming your way?
Yeah, no. Yeah. Stand back. There's a hurricane coming. Shane busts in. We started having a commentary with him.
Yeah. Let's keep going before Sean gets sucked away into a tornado.
If only.
But
anyway.
I did pick up on when he did the dive to the outside, the Terminator dive, and his eyes look like actual planets. They bugged out so much.
I know. He just went. It's goofy looking.
Yes,
it
was very goofy.
Like he's not taking it seriously.
Yeah.
And Pac looked great in this match. It's a shame he was wrestling a couple of goofs.
Yeah.
Because Pac looked badass.
Pac looks amazing in everything he does.
Yeah. No,
And I know you aren't super crazy about Kenny Omega. I really like Kenny Omega. It's just, why was Orange Cassidy in this match? Orange Cassidy was in this match to take the enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, I don't hate Omega's moves. I just don't like his facials. That's my problem with him, is that he always looks like he's trying to overact. And I don't think that's necessary. I've always liked Kenny Omega more when he just looked serious and he looked like he was ready for the fight of his life.
And I'm not going to lie.
Against Moxley, for example, at Revolution. At least I could buy his I want to kick your ass look.
Yeah. Honestly,
he's just being a goof here.
Honestly, this entire match was a giant spot fest, and it's because it was the main event 3-way for the world title. You got to do a bunch of moves and kick out a lot, and also one of the guys in the match shouldn't even be in this match. So I legit can barely remember anything about this match other than it going forever. And we have another run-in, ladies and gentlemen, from your boy Don Callis.
Russo counter.
God.
Yeah. That's right, and it was just, but here's one thing, I will give Orange Cassidy credit. There's one thing I will give Orange Cassidy credit for, and here's what it is. I have found the one and only acceptable use of the pockets I've seen up to this point.
Off the full Nelson, I do remember that.
Off the full Nelson.
I love that.
I was like, okay, that I can buy. If you're going to do the pockets, make it make sense. That made sense. I'm like, okay.
Yes. I did enjoy that. And then immediately after that, he started doing moves on them with his hands in his pocket.
Yeah, then I lost back interest. But then, Pac coming to the rescue and doing something I've always wanted to do to Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy starts to play kicks. Pac looks at him and just hoofs him in the balls.
Yes. I love that. I love that.
This was joy.
Yes.
And then, I've noticed something about Kenny Omega. He has two modes. He has overly goofy selling or no selling. That's it. There's no middle ground, because then he does a jillion moves and then he takes a bump and he does his big goofy chameleon eyes where they're just darting all over the place.
I will say that one move he does where they call it the Tiger Driver 98, it was not a Tiger Driver. It was like the arm hook into the big spike pile driver. That should be someone's finishing move. Why is that just one of his regular moves?
AEW. That's why. Because that's the format. That's AEW's format. Nothing has any meaning.
That is a devastating, awesome-looking finishing move, and that's just one of his regular moves. Why? I love Kenny Omega and all, but I just don't understand that as part of his repertoire and not be a finisher.
AEW. That's what they do. That's Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks style of wrestling. Then that's why they're EVPs, and that's what we've gotten. It's unfortunate. It's way unfortunate because this match went way too long.
It
just kept going. But
27 minutes.
Yeah. But I would have hated Orange Cassidy winning this match, but the crowd was really behind him. And it made me actually kind of boo when Callis interfered.
Yeah.
I will give credit for that. The fans kind of made me at least invested when Callis interfered. And then Kenny was trying to, he saw that Pac had the thing and Pockets was going out, and Kenny just hit the ref.
Yeah.
And that was like, wow, what an asshole move. And at least they're getting some heat.
Yeah, and it made sense. Like, he was kicking the guy. He had him in the brutalizer submission hold, but he couldn't pry him off. And at any second, Orange Cassidy could pass out. So what else can you do? Attack the referee. It made sense.
The thing that surprised me about this is, once again, this finishing sequence picked up. If this match went half as long, I might have actually liked this. There was so much to it.
Yes.
And it was just spots, and then a roll-up.
Yep.
None of the heel work helped. None of the interference helped. But a roll-up.
Orange Cassidy did a move, went for the pin, got crucifixed, and that was that.
After all of the heels, after Callis interfering, after hitting the referee, you win clean.
You know what I was thinking would have been an awesome finish, even though it would have resulted in Orange Cassidy winning the world title? You know how Kenny Omega kept hitting Pac with title belt after title belt after title belt? I saw that like one of his title belts got launched to the other side of the ring. I was thinking, what if he hits Pac with all of his belts except one? And when he turns around, Orange Cassidy hits him with the one belt he wasn't expecting and pins him off that. I would have loved that.
Well, that would have been something crazy. Or, well, no. Actually, no. You knew that Kenny was going to win.
Yeah, you knew what. 27 minutes of, come on, we know Kenny's going to win.
But I will give credit to this finishing sequence. Because this is one person I really like and two people that I'm mad to dislike on a regular basis. This finishing sequence got me actually invested, and that's something that I have to give AEW credit for. There were moments on this show that made you think there was a quality wrestling program hidden underneath it, and this is a perfect example of that. There was a good triple threat match hidden underneath this.
Yeah, and one of the minutes in this 27 minutes of just everything that was happening.
Yeah,
I thought it was fine. It kind of like the tag team match, except I felt like the tag team match this was longer than the tag team match with the Young Bucks, but the Young Bucks match felt longer.
Yeah, agreed. Because the Young Bucks match had a very odd pace.
Yeah.
This at least had, it started 100 miles an hour like any triple threat does, but this at least, when it slowed down at the end, it started getting watchable.
Yeah.
I don't think there was ever a watchable moment in that Young Bucks match.
I enjoyed the first half of that Young Bucks match, and then I wanted to take a nap.
Yeah. Well, but hey, we've still got the Wild...
Can we just stop right here, please?
No, but we've got to watch Pinnacle versus Callaway versus Max Fly versus other golf friends in a football match.
Up next, ladies and gentlemen, we have the main event of WWE's Double or Nothing pay-per-view event. The Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle in a Stadium Stampede match. Had the Inner Circle lost, they would have been forced to disband. What this should have been, a giant, 5-on-5 elimination tag match.
No.
What we got, they went over to a stadium. It was Falls Count Anywhere, allegedly, apparently.
Allegedly.
One fall. So if any just random guy pinned another random guy, that would have been it. And how would everyone else know that the match was over? Because they're all over a stadium.
Walkie-talkies. They had to have walkie-talkies on them, but I did make that note.
So,
and then, let me ask you something. Before we get to this any further, what did you think about the fact that this match actually was live?
It didn't help or hurt. I didn't know I did not know what they meant by a Stadium Stampede match. I was expecting like a big 5-on-5 tag match. Maybe not elimination, but like a 5-on-5 no DQ crazy match. And I did not know that this was going to be I thought the triple threat match was going to be the main event.
No.
But no, we have this, a overly cartoonish, 31-minute long backstage brawl in a different arena.
There were dialogue cutscenes.
Yes!
And then...
I hated this.
I mean, you knew that this was gonna not be fun when you saw the fucking goober circle come out and rappel down the bright pink Tron.
Yep.
And they all jumped down, and then the rappel just hit them, so they all sprung there and like laid there like a bunch of morons.
Yep.
Like, oh, we're actually not coming down. We're just gonna like float here for a bit. So
yep.
Here's our entrance. They didn't even have T-shirt guns or something. That, they had no. They were just saying, well, just bear with us.
Hey guys, we're stuck.
We're gonna get down there, and then MJF just screaming into the stadium, and then the truck shows up with the Pinnacle guys and Tully apparently was fighting, and then what we proceeded to get was a series of fighting cutscenes where I assumed that everybody just stopped while the next scene went on.
Yep.
So they went to fight, they'd cut to the next camera, they'd stop, they'd walk over to the next place, and then they'd go do their thing in the next spot. And so what we got was a movie about wrestling that became a live action movie about wrestling at the very end. And
what this felt like was a set up angle for a match. Except this was the main event.
Set up. There was no hiding the fact that this was completely set up.
Like, no, this felt like something you would do to build towards a match. Like, you know how you have a wild backstage brawl, and you're like, oh, these two are going to fight on the pay-per-view.
Yep.
Except it's backwards. This is the big match, even though it feels like a random backstage brawl that sets up a match.
Yeah, no, the double cage match where Chris Jericho took a bump off a crash pad, that didn't end this feud.
This did.
We stayed.
Allegedly.
But I've had a revelation during this match, Joshua.
Mm.
Tony Schiavone is me in 40 years. If you started hearing him when MJF was in front, oh, good, hit him with that. Oh,
yes.
Just smash his face into there. Oh, do it again. Kill him.
The one enjoyable thing about this entire half-hour-long just parade of nonsense was Tony Schiavone just burying MJF and wishing death upon this man.
Insatiable.
He was wishing death upon this man. It was hilarious.
It was the greatest thing. I'm like, that's me. That's 40 years from now. That's going to be me sitting at a commentary booth listening to JoshAgeddon talk about live-action TAW and me just going, kill him,
set him on fire, murder him.
Yeah, that's gonna be me. You watch. It's the MJF is hysterical. Doing as dumb as the phone spot was, it was funny.
Yes,
as he was like, "Oh, sorry, Chris Jericho came in through though. He's busy getting his teeth bashed in."
Yeah,
that was funny. And then who should show up but the most recent signed head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Urban fucking Meyer.
I wonder how this was funded.
And they just stood there, and the football players started throwing footballs for Jericho to throw at MJF. And at this point, I'm laughing, because this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. This is like Money in the Bank 2020 bad. And Urban Meyer, with no expression on his face, just kind of stands there and watches. And you're like, sorry, guys. And he's like, And he just stares.
Hated the part. You know how we complain about how moves don't mean anything in this show? Chris Jericho hit MJF in the face with a metal baseball bat.
Named Floyd for whatever reason.
And it looked like the top of it looked like a fleshlight for some reason.
Yeah, we won't read into that any.
But he hit MJF in the head with it, and you heard the metal clank, and that wasn't it. MJF was up just a couple seconds later.
Yeah, I had 22 more minutes of match to work
He
on.
no-sold a metal baseball bat.
Yeah. Oh, and we also got the spot where Chris Jericho threw MJF through a table with a bunch of potato chips on it, and the replay was from an angle from a camera that we didn't know existed. That was a fun one. We're like, oh, watch this replay from an angle where you can actually see what happened. Oh, well, that's nice. I'm glad that this was all prepared so you knew where that spot was.
My opinion of this match is fuck this match. Honestly, This was the most WWE AEW has ever felt to me.
Yeah, this was.
It was such a It was so cornbally.
Well, what was crazy about this is it went from, it started as a 5-on-5, then turned into Edge versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania 36
Yep.
for a good 10 minutes. And then Hager no-sells a bunch of empty plastic bins, which Excalibur started, those plastic bins are devastating. They're empty bins.
Yep.
Made of plastic. It's like getting hit in the head with a gallon jug of water.
So, a metal baseball bat doesn't hurt, but an empty canister of water does.
And then arguably my worst part of this, they go into the walk-in freezer, and they have
And it grabs an ice pick.
Not even the ice pick, but the fucking pigs, which were so
Why? Why?
Like the half pigs that were so obviously plastic and hung up there. It's not a butcher stop. You're at a football stadium.
I was just thinking, this is a football stadium, not a slaughterhouse.
Why would they be there?
Why? Who is slaughtering pigs during, the Super Bowl?
Yeah, we're going to have a talk with Shad Khan, who got a spot in this as a cardboard cutout.
Yeah, and MJF punched the cardboard cutout, and Jericho's like, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah,
oh my
that was
God.
yeah, you want to talk about all ejaculation wrestling. This was a good part of it. And so then they do this thing where, there's a gratuitous use of the middle finger on this show.
Yes.
Everybody's using the middle finger. Can we, reel it back in a little bit?
They use the middle finger on this show as much as every woman in WWE uses the word bitch.
And then Sean Spears gets into the middle of this room with a whole bunch of chairs, and it looks like he's about to do a tap dancing musical number.
Yes, oh my God. It was so dumb.
And so then that was when I realized everyone was just chilling while this other part was going on. Of course, we get handcuffs that somebody just gets out of, apparently.
Yeah, I remember they pulled out handcuffs, and then they never used them again.
Yep, they handcuffed him, and then we saw Sammy later on, so that meant all of
Well, it's better them just pulling it out, using it, and then ignoring it for the rest of the match than Roman Reigns conveniently forgetting how to stand up momentarily. It's better than that.
And then Paul Heyman not knowing how to unlock it.
How does lock work?
And then we get to this techno bar scene. What was this?
I'm not even gonna lie, I got so just infuriated and bored with this techno bar scene that I just started looking at stuff on my phone, completely unrelated. I got on my phone until this part ended.
Let me explain what happens here, because this is again nonsensical. So Tully and FTR apparently have just not cared about the match anymore. They're like, you know what, we're just gonna go drink at the bar. So they just ditch the match and go to this techno bar, which is not a bar. And then Santana and Ortiz walk in, and they see them at the bar, and then finally FTR sees them, and then they all just start beating up the patrons of the bar for no reason. Just these innocent bystanders all just get beaten up, I guess, on the way to them facing each other. So it's like, these poor people, why are they even here? These poor people just getting beaten up by these random guys. So then they go to each other, they're all at the center of the bar, they're at the center of this table, Tully pours them all a glass of vodka. They cheers each other, all four of them, drink it, and then they all turn over, and who is at the DJ booth but Conan?
Yeah, I heard Conan. Someone screaming Conan at the top of their lungs on the announce team, and I'm just like, what?
In all fairness, is part of Santana and Ortiz's group, so it makes sense that they would have the backup where Tully is with FTR. I get that. But when has Conan ever done any DJing? And Conan doesn't like techno? What was this? And so then they get into this big schmuzz, and they're just fighting. At least FTR and Santana Ortiz looked like they were actually trying to fight. Their punches looked good. I will give them that. And then they cut out of this bar, and we never see any of them for the rest of the night.
Nope.
And then they get the Shad Khan cut out. The bat's named Floyd. Why is MJF's pants bedazzled the same way that Nia Jax got their chicken pox face last time? Did you notice that?
Yes, I did. I know.
Yep, of course. What is it with wrestling and bedazzling? now.
Because the wrestling has to be pretty.
It's bad. It's bad. But this is like, but then I thought, okay, maybe they might redeem this. They're going back to Daly's place. I'm like, okay.
Well, two of them did.
But little did we know that this was going to mean nothing, because they do another crash pad spot.
Yep.
With MJF.
Yep.
And then they have Sammy Guevara and Shawn Spears, who are the only ones left. They go in there, and they do a ring finish, and Sammy Guevara wins, and that's it.
Why was it these two?
We don't get a big finale. We don't get the big 5-on-5 collision where the big craziness happens and someone gets a split win.
This was so random.
We get Shawn Spears and Sammy Guevara. Full pro wrestling finish that happened just randomly for 2 minutes, and then nobody knows where the rest of the Pinnacle went, but the rest of the Inner Circle comes in and celebrates, and how heartwarming. I guess the rest of the Pinnacle's just lost somewhere in the stadium.
What?
and that was the show.
Why? I am so baffled.
I hope you all enjoyed our performance. Is what that said.
Why? If it was the final two,
they all should have taken a bow.
If the final two was MJF and Chris Jericho, then fine. It would have been kind of like predictable and kind of like, of course, the bosses are finishing the match together in the ring. It would have been a little contrived. But why these two?
There's so many loose ends to this that you couldn't even tie this together with rope.
This is like if during Avengers Endgame, frickin' one of Thanos' henchmen put on the Infinity Gauntlet and snapped and won. That's what this is.
It was. No, this was like if goddamn fucking like Ultron beat the Falcon and that was the end of the series.
Yes. It's like if in Star Wars, like, Count Dooku stabs and decapitates Anakin Skywalker, and then we just have 2 Star Wars movies where Dooku just wins.
This is as bad as if, like, Rey ended up taking the name of Skywalker. Oh.
Wait.
The bottom line is, folks, this was bad.
Oh, God. I hated this.
This was bad. I realized this was not going to be any good, because this is, of course, Football Fuckery 2,
yes.
Electric Boogaloo.
At least the Young Bucks were wrestling in a ring. In a match. You might not have liked the match they were doing, but at least they were doing a match.
This was just... You've already said it. This is alternative WWE.
This is like weird alternate universe WWE.
Yeah. This was all of this was bad. There were some funny moments in this, but just describing this was funnier than
so
it actually
bizarre.
was to watch it.
Dude, you know how like there's Superman and Bizarro Superman? AEW is becoming Bizarro WWE.
Yeah. It's Ben. And Mark Henry's there. That was another fun one.
Yep.
It was like, hey, ladies and gentlemen, we got a new acquisition. Here he is. It's Mark Henry. Mark Henry goes up. Hey.
Hi.
Leaves. That was it.
Bye.
We'll him next week. Then just have him show up next week. Why are you here, Mark? Just show up on Wednesday or Friday or whenever you're recording this. It's just,
God.
I don't understand. This company.
What a wet fart to end this show on. A long 30-minute long wet fart to end the show on.
Fart. This is the fart to end all farts.
Jesus God.
And some say the Pinnacle are still wandering Jaguar Stadium to this very day.
The Pinnacle are still wandering, and the Young Bucks match is still going on, and Edge and Randy Orton are still wrestling back in Florida.
Or I'll give you a 90s reference.
Oh no.
I think what happened was that the rest of the Pinnacle were taken by the Temple Guards, and now they're not going to get that trip to Space Camp they wanted. It's for those of you kids out there, look up Legends of the Hidden Temple. It's a good time. But
so that was Double or Nothing, ladies and gentlemen.
Double or Nothing.
What did you think of the show overall, Sean? Now that we've discussed it in depth.
It was too long.
Yep.
There was a really good show buried under filler. But this one, you could see the moments. Some shows, like Revolution, I didn't see any moments. This one, you could see the moments where there's potential on this show. But at what point is this show going to be going on so long where you can't just ride on potential alone? You know, it's like, I think that there's good that came out of this. I had a lot more fun watching this than I did Revolution. And I know we have differing opinions on that.
Yeah.
But I still had fun. At the end of the day, I didn't feel like my interest in pro wrestling was to never talk about it again. This, I had a good time. For the most part.
Me, I enjoyed this show. I do think it was a little bit long. That's because some of the matches are still going on as we speak.
Indeed.
But I thought it was enjoyable. I thought some of the matches were really good, especially the Darby Allin Sting tag team match. That was my favorite match on the night.
That was fun.
The women's title match I thought was pretty good, a little sloppy, but pretty good. And that crutch shot that the referee just ignored was just, what the fuck?
It is worth watching the buy-in, though. That buy-in match. If you do get the chance, Joshua, that one I would say is probably ranked third as far as good matches on this show. But I will give credit also to that triple threat. That could have been a lot worse than it was, and it ended up being all right at the end.
There was good stuff on this show.
There was.
And
just buried under filler.
And then that main event was just... My dad just texted me. Excuse me.
AEW wants to know your location now. I think we better close this out.
All right, so final grade. What score out of 10 will you be giving AEW Double or Nothing 2021?
Well, I'm pretty sure that I gave the last pay-per-view a really, really bad grade.
No, you didn't. You did not grade Revolution.
Oh, that's right. That's how bad it was. I thought that for what they could have had, this was a good show buried under filler. You take the filler out of this, it gets a solid 5.
Solid 5 out of 10?
I'm going middle of the road. For AEW standards, there were some redeeming qualities to this show. So I'm giving it 5.
All right, so Sean, I honestly I am also going to give it a 5 out of 10.
All right.
If it was not for that main event, and for some of the other stuff on this show, I probably would have gone like 7 out of 10, maybe even 8. But some of the stuff on the show was just really stupid.
Yep.
And a lot of filler, and a lot of things just went on for way too long, and so many run-ins. And that god-awful main event really knocked it down. So me and Sean both give AEW Double or Nothing 2021 a 5 out of 10.
There's good stuff, but there's work to be done.
Yes.
I just doubt that the people involved in the work that needs to be done actually want to fix anything.
They don't think anything is wrong.
Exactly.
And that is the problem.
Exactly. But such as AEW.
Yes.
Until the next one, I guess.
Yes. Which I believe...
Maybe a SummerSlam simulcast?
Oh, if I'm not working. Because, again, I need to know what time I'm working those days.
So we'll see what happens.
Oh, have you heard what the proposed main event of SummerSlam is going to be?
I've heard multiple things. I've heard Edge and Owens. I've heard John Cena might be involved.
I've heard that the main event of SummerSlam is going to be Roman Reigns defending the Universal title against John Cena.
Give him 17 and get him the fuck out.
I disagree. But also, do you know who the host of SummerSlam is going to be?
Oh, everybody's favorite WAP rapper, Cardi B.
I hate this.
Wait.
I hate this country. Anyway, so thank you guys so much for listening to our review of AEW Double or Nothing. Try saying that 5 times fast. We will see you guys next time, and in a few days, there will be another episode of the Court Martial Podcast. Go like, comment, subscribe. Go watch the Colonial Impact Wrestling King of the Spring. The entire tournament is on the CIW YouTube channel that will be in the description. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that fun stuff, and we will see you guys later. Good night, everybody.
Peace.